Okay, so in the previous video, we talked about what proportionality is. Now we're going to talk about it more in the context of corresponding parts. So what this section is corresponding parts of similar figures. Before we do anything with examples, I want to talk about what some properties of similar figures are. So when you see similar figures, or an example that says these two figures are similar, here's what we know about these two figures. First, the corresponding angles of similar figures are congruent. That just means congruent meaning are equal to each other. So if you have something like this, a triangle, and these two triangles are similar, then we would know, for example, if these figures were corresponding, A with D, then we would know that A and D are the same angle. So if A was like 50 degrees, then D would also be 50 degrees. So that's what we mean when corresponding angles of similar figures are congruent. Okay, so that's just one example. And then another one is, we've already talked about the ratio of, let me just do it this way. The measurements of the sides are proportional. Okay, so the sides are proportional. Really, we've talked about that in the previous video. It just means if you were to take the scale factor of each corresponding side, the scale factor would be the same no matter what pair of sides you're looking at. So let's take a look at this example, example 1, where we have to find x and y. Now this kind of looks like a big mess, but let's take a look a little bit more in detail. We have A, B, C, D, E. If we know this information, let's say we know this information, how am I going to write this? A, B, C, D, E is similar. That is the similar symbol, is similar. And remember, similar just means these two things. Corresponding angles of similar figures are congruent, and proportionality is similar to QRSTU. QRSTU. So we know that these are similar figures just based off of what I'm telling you. Okay. All right. So ABCDE is similar to QRSTU. Let's go ahead and find X first, since that'll be a little bit easier to show. So if we know that similar figures have corresponding congruent angles, then if we look at 124 degrees and 2x degrees, we don't know what x is, but we can easily figure that out. Since we know that these are similar figures, E is congruent to U. Okay, angle E is congruent to U, so if angle E is 124 degrees, then that's equal to 2x. Since E is 124, U is 2x, we can set them equal to each other. Let's do that, and we'll solve by dividing by 2. So that is equal to 124 divided by 2 is 62. So x is equal to 62. And now it's not 62 degrees because x is not degrees. It's just a variable. It's just some value, right? So 124 degrees, but x is equal to 62. So we use our angles to find that. Now this one's going to be a fun one. So we can use the sides now. If we know the sides are proportional, we can say we're looking at this side. That matches up with this side right here. Okay, those two sides are corresponding. So we're going to write 4 over 2. The new 4 over the old 2. We can say, okay, well, what other information do we know? We know this side right here corresponds to this side, ED, right there. Let's match those up. If I did 4 on top on the left side of the equation right here, if I did 4 on top, I'm going to do 5y minus 1 on top. 5y minus 1. Okay, and then we're going to correspond that with 2y plus 1. Okay, so now we have an equation, and we can forget all about the pictures, and we can just focus on this algebraically and try to solve this algebraically. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We can do some cross multiplying when you find or when you're solving proportions, we like to cross multiply. So we're going to do 2 times 5y minus 1, 2 times 5y minus 1. Remember, you have to write it in parentheses because you're multiplying 2 by the entire thing here, okay? And then we can do the same thing, 4 times the entire 2y plus 1. 4 times 2y plus 1, okay? And so now what we can do is distribute. So we can distribute and solve from here. So let's go ahead and distribute. 2 times 5y is 10y. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 equals 4 times 2 is 8y. 4 times 1 is plus 4. All right, so now we can just decide, all right, well, which side do I want my variables on? This 10 is positive y, and if we subtract an 8y over, it's just going to be a positive 2y. Okay, so let's go ahead and subtract this 8 over 8y, and we'll get 2y. And then what we can do from here is we see that we'll have this negative 2 over. I'm just going to do this all in one step. I'm going to add a 2. I'm going to add a 2 to both sides. Adding a 2 cancels that out right there. And then I have 4 plus 2 is 6. All right, so that's easy now. We have 2y equals 6. Divide by 2. And then y equals 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, so we have y is equal to 3. So now we use proportions to set up an equation, and not only set up the equation, but to solve that equation as well. So our two answers, x equals 62, y equals 3. And there you go. And that's what you can do with proportions. Pretty cool stuff.